Hello, my name is Kolo, and welcome back to another Spice and Wolf episode review. Okay, and we're back with episode 16. This episode covers all of chapter 3 from volume 3 of the light novel. So let's begin the episode. So the episode begins right where we left off on episode 15 with Lawrence running to the trading guild, and he finds Amarty there declaring this proposition to him that he would pay off all of Holo's debt to Lawrence, that being 1,000 coins, and after she regains her freedom, as he calls it, he'd propose to her. Lawrence says to Amarty that Holo won't be swayed, and she won't give up being Lawrence's traveling companion just because she's no longer in debt. So Lawrence reads the contract and he decides to agree, and the deadline would be tomorrow evening, and the people at the guild start betting on who might win this, with the favor looking to be on Lawrence's side. So after that, Batos says to Lawrence that he can't help him here, and that losing a traveling companion would be painful for any traveling merchant. So Lawrence goes back to the inn and tells Holo that he accepted the contract, and Holo says that he could have just turned down the contract, but he didn't want to lose face in front of all those people at the guild, and that he's kind of acting immature. And they start talking about what it means to be a good adult, and how that being a good man and a good adult are two separate things, maturity wise. After that, Holo says that he is confident in Lawrence's merchanting skills and the measures he takes, and one of those would be taking Holo to the festival, which is pretty good bribery for Holo. So then Lawrence and Holo get out of the inn and they meet up with Mark. They talk about Lawrence and Holo's relationship a little bit, Holo being a little overdramatic on purpose too. And then Mark and Lawrence start speaking about Amarty and how he might get the 1,000 silver. And Lawrence can't really seem to figure out how he would get all the money. Mark tells Lawrence about the betting and that he's winning right now. Then Holo comes in teasing Mark about the purity of the flower he's selling. And then Mark tells Lawrence about Amarty and his beliefs on how tactics are done, and that he thinks it's dirty to use connections around town merchants, and that he kind of acts like a knight because of his heritage. So then Lawrence and Holo head on their way to the festival, and they get their good view. They spend a little time showing the festival, and Holo sees the dancing and decides she wants in. And I see that the animation changed a little bit while they were dancing. I really wish I could see the whole thing of them dancing. I expect Lawrence to be tripping half the time over Holo. So then after the festival is over, they go back to the inn with Holo being pretty tired or drunk. And at the inn, Lawrence receives a letter from Diana, and Lawrence tells Holo about where he's about to go and the legends he heard of her, and that they're closer to finding out where Yoitz might be. And Holo looks pretty sad about this because their journey might be ending sooner than she wants it to. I think the original anime did this scene a little bit better. I think they kind of do Holo's facial expressions better with her eyes shaking. They also put a flashback in between this of episode 14 when they're discussing if Holo could get to Yoitz on her own. So after that, Lawrence heads to Mark's place and he leaves the letter on the desk. And at Mark's place, he finds out about this pyrite and how lucrative it is. And Mark explains the whole thing about how the pyrite started to rise in value and why it keeps rising. Lawrence feels a little ashamed at himself that he's late to this scheme. Mark is a little scared for Lawrence, but Lawrence reassures Mark that Holo won't leave him because she has a destination in mind. So then Lawrence goes back to the inn and he sees Holo in the window with the letter in her hand. Of course, in the last episode, he thought she couldn't read, but from the light novel, Lawrence thinks that she claimed to not be able to read to probably tease or surprise him later. And it backfired here, with the contents of the letter being Yoit's and its destruction. And she's probably so stunned because she was excited to tease Lawrence. And that's another layer on top of this whole situation. Holo asks Lawrence why he kept this from her, and he says it was pretty sensitive. Holo gets a little annoyed, or I'd say angry, hearing this, believing that Lawrence kept the truth from her on purpose. And I think in the original, you really hear Lawrence's anger right after Holo says that it must have been amusing with Lawrence watching her and being oblivious. And I feel like Lawrence's anger right here isn't portrayed. Holo then takes it a step further, making up ideas about how Lawrence might have felt about Holo. And while this is going on, Lawrence is thinking about where all this rage is coming from, and that he knows that it's because of the sadness she's feeling right now. And after Lawrence asks Holo, is this really what she thinks? She of course says yes. And after she says yes, in the light novel she says, yes, I do think that you're human, the only animal that raises other animals. I really like that line from the light novel, because it seems like Holo is thinking about Lawrence more like a human than his personality and him being him. I could just be saying nothing though. But then after that, Holo says that she is alone now and that no one waits for her. Lawrence tries to reassure her that he is here. And then we have the infamous, "What are you to me?" Probably one of my favorite moments in all of Spice and Wolf. And "What am I to you?" And you see Holo think further with Lawrence not answering the question she proposed, because he really doesn't know. And he realizes after this that he should have said something, even if it was a lie. Like Holo said earlier in Rubenhagen, Holo wishes to not be alone. And with her sinking further, Holo proposes having a child. And Lawrence at this point thinks that she should stop talking. What she said a little earlier is kind of ironic now with Mayuri, but the difference being they had her out of love, and this would be having a child just to have a child. So then Holo says, "I'm sorry" after all of this, and Lawrence walks out of the inn, frustrated without knowing what to do next. And that's where the episode ends. A very good episode this week. I think the only problem I had with this episode was how Lawrence was portrayed in this scene. I kind of wanted to see more of his anger, because this kind of is an argument. I do believe the original did this scene better. I think the music here is good. I do prefer the original's music though. I like the original's animation too over this. I wish I got to see that red glow, the red glow of Holo's eyes, like I did in the original. But let me stop comparing. I think they did the vibe pretty well with them hinting at what happens at the end of this episode. I like this whole festival part. I think this scene was great with all the facial expressions and the movement of both Holo and Lawrence. But overall, I really like this episode. Maybe my favorite episode so far. I really still like episode 7 because of some of the light novel content they added in, but I think that's going to be the end of today's review. And as always, tune in next time to see what happens next.